Welcome back. So before we continue, I want to kind of just mention the overall system right here before we dive into the first feature. Now, the overall system is something like this. I want to build some kind of Lego web shop where I can go in and search for Legos and I can kind of order them if I want to. And the Lego system right here is going to have an auth module so I can log in if I'm a certain user and look at my old orders. And also as an owner of the system, I want to see all orders, for instance. So I want some kind of authentication system. I'm going to have products module. That's just going to be Lego products. But in the future, you could put any products in here if you want to sell something else. We're going to have a customers module, which is going to be for the customers who shopped at my web shop so that I know who has been in there. And then the orders module is going to represent all the orders. That's a lot. That's really a lot to cover. So we're going to focus on one feature first, which is going to be just presenting all the products we have in our Lego shop. So we're going to set that up. We're going to do that by actually adding some kind of REST API in a .NET Core environment right here, where we're going to have a web API that can communicate with Angular. Or the other way around, Angular can communicate with that and send an HTTP request and say, I would like to get all the products, and it would return something like this to kind of say to the Angular products that here they are, you can present them now and show us the products. Later we'll add filtering, we'll add paging, we'll add all the things you need for a professional web shop to work. The REST API itself is going to be built on the backend with the .NET Core technology right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a web API in the presentation layer. This is, by the way, clean architecture, and I made a lot of videos about that if you want to check that out. I'm just going to start using it. I'm not going to explain it a lot, but I'm going to make, like with the clean architecture, the onion architecture, I'm going to make a presentation layer where I'm going to put in the web API that's going to communicate to the domain layer, that's going to communicate to a repository, get the data from a database and return it all the way back. And another thing the web API is going to do is communicate to a security layer that's going to go to another database and actually get if you're logged in and if you're authenticated, if you're authorized to actually work with my system. So we're going to set all that up as well. Now, you have two different databases right here. They'll both be SQLite in the beginning, but you can always switch them with something else if you want to, because we're going to use the NT framework in order to communicate with these databases. So you can always go later on if you want to kind of make switches, you can always go to another type of database, anything you want. So that's kind of the overall system that we're going to build, and there's so much to cover right here. Now, that's only a small part of it. We also have to deploy this to a live environment, right? So we're going to put this on Firebase. We're going to try and deploy this on a Firebase server. So we're going to have an Angular app running live on Firebase. And we're going to try and deploy this on Azure. So we have the backend running live on Azure. And then we're going to talk about cores and how they can communicate to each other, because we also have to figure that out because we're full stack developers, right? We also have to do testing, so we'll talk about how we can test the core in the beginning, and also later we're going to try and look at how we can actually test the front end as well if we want to. So all of that, we need to cover that in the upcoming lessons. And the next lesson, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I kind of put this on GitHub so you guys can get started with the code, where I'm going to start out at the first feature that we're going to build. So that's it for this lesson. See you next time. Bye.